In this video, we're going to look at another method for solving quadratics, and that is the quadratic formula. So let's have a look at this problem here. So 5x squared minus 2x equals 1. Well, really importantly for this method and all of the methods, we first need to always make sure that we rearrange to make sure that the equation is equal to 0. So in this case, that means subtracting 1 from both sides. So 5x squared minus 2x minus 1. It's incredible how many students slip up on that. They try to do something clever with the left-hand side before subtracting 1 from both sides. Now that it's in this form, we can use the quadratic formula. Okay, so what is the quadratic formula? Well, it relates to a general quadratic in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and when it's equal to 0. And the solutions to this, if we use the quadratic formula, are negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I will do a proof of this later on in the course, so if you're interested to see where this comes from, you can see that later on. All right, so I encourage you to list out explicitly what your a, b, and c terms are. So a is the coefficient of x squared, so that's 5. B is negative 2 for us, that's the coefficient of x, and c is our constant, which is negative 1. And now if we use the quadratic formula, we're going to get x equals negative b, so negative 2 is 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 2 squared, minus 4ac, so minus 4 times 5 times negative 1, and that's all over 2a, so all over 2 times 5. So that gives us 2 plus or minus the square root of, and what have we got here? Well, negative 2 squared is 4. And then 4 times 5 times minus 1 is negative 20. So that's minus negative 20 is plus 20. And all of that is divided by 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so you might think we are finished here. 2 plus or minus root 24 over 10. But actually there's some further simplifying we can do. And the reason is that root 24 can be simplified. So it's always good to get your surds in their simplest form. The reason why it can be simplified is that 24 has a square number lurking in it. So 24 is 4 times 6, and since 4 is a square number, it can be nice to write it as root 4 root 6. And the reason for that, of course, is that root 4 is 2. So that gives us 2 plus or minus 2 root 6. And now what you can see is that every term in the numerator and every term in the denominator is even, which means I can divide through by 2. So that gives me 1 plus or minus root 6 over 5. Okay, so there we have it. That's how we can use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. And as I mentioned in the previous video, this is something that you can use a calculator to do. And I'll show you that in the next video. But just to emphasize the point, we do need to know these techniques because you can be asked to critique some work you see. It could say, Sam has used the quadratic formula to solve this equation. Point out the 2 errors that he's made. I don't think I made an error here, but you might be presented with some work where there is an error and you need to spot it. So we absolutely need to know these techniques, even though they're not techniques we're going to use all the time. All right, hopefully that was useful. I'll see you in the next video.